Hello YouTubers, today I'm going to demonstrate how I built my torch that I use for fire breathing. I had made a video a couple of weeks back promising this vid if enough people requested it, and sure enough people wanted to see it. So my torch design had came to me when I figured that the other torches I had seen Firebreathers use seemed to be hard to find, expensive, and annoying to replace or fix if the cloth fabric had become worn. So I decided a simpler alternative was just to make my own. Now keep in mind this is for fire breathing only and not fire eating, and I have only used it with mineral oil and vegetable oil fire breaths. Not once have I had any issue, but if you're using something like kerosene, which I would never recommend, or alcohol, which I also would never recommend, then I would be careful as the torch is only slightly over a foot long, which means it's best for fuels that won't have the chance of catching fire if some of the mist gets on your hands. And because of their high flammability, I just can't recommend alcohol or kerosene for this torch. Not saying that it can't be used for it, but I just can't recommend it. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's go over what we'll need. First thing we're going to have is a 1" by 12" steel pipe. It has to be threaded on both ends to be of use. If you can't find the 12" an 18" one can also work, but will probably be bulky. Next we are going to need a 1" steel threaded end cap and a steel 1" to 3/4 threaded converter. Some threadlock tape or equivalent is also a good idea to have, however is not strictly necessary. Using it though will serve to make it easier to take apart in the future and make it water and oil tight, which both are good things. We'll also need some 100% cotton cloth to act as the wick. This is crucial as if it's not 100% cotton and instead made of acetate, acrylic, nylon, polyester, or spandex, it'll simply melt and bead up instead of providing a substantiated burn. If you don't have some 100% cotton fabric around like most people, you can also do what I did, which is to instead use a 100% plain cotton shirt. If you do this, you'll also need yourself a pair of scissors or a knife to cut the fabric with. To prepare the fabric, simply cut the bottom of the shirt in line as possible with the sleeve seams on both sides. At this point you can either continue to cut or use your hands to tear it. My goal was just to save as many of the big chunks as possible to use. After tearing a bit and cutting off the sleeves and collar, I have a front of the shirt that now looks like this, which is exactly what we need. If you want, you can save other scraps and reuse them for replacement wicks later, so long as they are big enough. We're ready to assemble. Now if you have it, thread lock one of the threaded ends on the pipe in preparation for the end cap to be put on. Now I'm using the paste, but there's also threadlock tape available. Then simply hand screw on the end cap till it's tight and wipe or cut off, if using the tape, any excess threadlock. I'm using a shirt scrap to clean it. You can set that off to the side. Now take the 1" to 3/4" converter and fold over, twist and pull your large chunk of cotton fabric through its bottom a few inches. My fabric is about 2 foot by 2.5 foot. After that, we'll try to shove as much of it as possible into the pipe. When it becomes difficult, you'll want to grab the fabric and hold it in place while pushing downward toward the pipe. At the same time, you'll also want to turn the pipe to the right, twisting the cloth and making it easier to push in. It's crucial that the pipe is turned to the same direction so it doesn't unwind while trying to screw on the converter. Once you have only a few inches of cloth exposed, any excess fabric that might prevent you from getting the converter on can be trimmed off. The top can be thread locked and the converter screwed on. Pulling some of the fabric up through the converter at this point can help significantly with getting it on. Once again, any excess thread lock should be removed. Twisting back in some of the fabric at this point is also a good idea, though you might not be able to get it back in. If that's the case, trim the wick till it's about 3 inches long, and that's about the basics of it. However, it still needs to be prepared to make sure it's ready for fire breathing. Soak it down sufficiently with some lighter fluid and light it up. Notice how the flame is extremely intense at first. We don't need or want this, as a flame like this burns down too quickly and is also hard to control, and you might notice this as the cotton is rapidly being consumed. Once it gets to this point where almost all the exposed cotton has been charred, you should now blow out the torch. I use the ground to break off any frail charred cotton, which doesn't leave much behind. So here is where the beauty of the design comes into play. So long as the torch isn't hot, you can grab the end of it and twist a bit to pull out fresh fabric, and if you ever run out, you can simply put more in. However, with this next step, we are going to sufficiently slow the rate in which the cotton is consumed. When you have around 2 inches of cotton wick exposed, soak the head of the torch in mineral oil for about 2 hours. This will wick up into the cotton cloth and slow its burn rate. You can also use vegetable oil, but it degrades after time and becomes very sticky. After that has been done, burn it at least once for a few minutes to burn off some of the oil from the cloth. Then afterwards, you should be good to use it for fire breathing. Just remember, even with the mineral oil, you should still apply lighter fluid to it before each fire breather session and whenever your flame gets low, as the mineral oil is there to protect the cloth, not so much provide the fuel. Though it still will burn with just mineral oil, it'll be extremely easy to put out. Well anyways guys, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please check out my mineral oil fire breathing video, which this video spawned from. Thanks very much for watching guys, and please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content of this video, and if you enjoy this channel, it means a lot to me. Thank you guys, and bye!